Good afternoon again from Yammy BTV. Wishing you all well, sending loads of love as usual. And following on again from the topic this afternoon, a couple more reminders. If you hear a plane go by, that would be able to tell you that I'm meeting somebody or I'm getting ready for liftoff. Either way, it's one or the other. But no, yeah, Uncle Yammy dry sense of humour. But following on from that, and Paul, I've got one for you as well, coming up as well, son, at the end of this probably. But it's good to think, because if you haven't been there before to prison and you've had a good run outside, during which time, you've been hearing about when you go to jail, this man's a legend and this is what you got to do to stay in with the crowd and that kind of stuff, and the sense of belonging, which we've gone about already, So if you're a first timer, there's been plenty of occasions when you think that what you've heard at the word of somebody else's mouth, depending on who's telling you. Because back in the day when I used to go, I just come out of jail, it was like this, it was like that, my perception of what it was actually was, and the reality of explaining it in today's light with the way that I feel about it all now is completely and utterly different. But there's been many occasions when first timers, when they first get arrested and they come to prison and then they're on the landing asking for can I have a spoon of sugar please, because everybody's used to having their coffee or their tea, and when you get in there you get a tea pack, the sugar runs out, but yet you ask somebody for sugar or coffee or whatever you're scared to, but you might feel brave enough to because you feel like you're somebody, or you don't feel like you're somebody and you just don't know, and you just ended up in prison for the first time, expecting help off any of them lot in there, and people like me. It's very, very difficult. You've got too many predators watching for the newcomers and the ones that haven't been to jail before. But at the same time, I know of a few occasions, especially one, someone called Carl, who came out, who hadn't been in jail before, asked somebody for a spoon of sugar, because he thought it was, it was the all right thing, that there'd be a camaraderie spirit and somebody watching a newcomer come in. But not everybody's the same. Other people look at, they've been in prison a long time, they understand the rules and regulations, and they've done their bit for Queen and country in that way of thinking. You ask for some sugar and a geezer mugs you right off by saying to you, "Oh, listen, you ponce, don't come and ask me for a little spoon of sugar." Blah, blah, blah. Who are you talking to, mate? Oh, you wasn't expecting that one, was you? And then you end up stabbing him and, not killing him, but you end up with more time. Because you're thinking, well, if I don't answer back, everybody's on the landings, that kind of stuff, then your time in prison is not going to be worth anything at all. You're going to be bullied, persevered, as in a beaten stick, that kind of stuff. You've got the pecking order in there as well. Everyone can stop. I'll tell you how they can all know. Because they already know, because they felt the same way themselves when they were newcomers. So they know what you're feeling. So it's not like they never knew what they were feeling, that they was a bit scared. Even after a few goes from me, when I end up getting nicked again and going back to prison, I've got to do it all over again, so that you're not letting down that security armour, that shield you have in front of you when you're in there, and you're going, nothing, I'm this, I'm that, and blah blah blah. But really, you're running away from the fact that that the best way to get acclaim and glory in there is to behave like an absolute nutter. That's the absolute truth of it. And then you're going to be spoken to by some, because everybody's got different, they're growing, in stature, in whatever way and stage they're at, by way of age, how many times they've been there, that kind of stuff. It all comes together all at the same time, and anyone can spot a newcomer. And then for those, that have been habitual like me, and others, that I'm in contact with, to keep going back and forth, it is severe mental draining. You have to have some severe mental strength to keep dealing with the same things that you told yourself that you wouldn't want to feel again, that you wouldn't want to repeat again, and you keep doing it. It's enough to make a lot of people give up. But no, I didn't, because I knew exactly what it was, and that when you're doing wrong, you have to accept that you're wrong, and you have to expect to do the time, and you have to do it with all the men or women that are like you, or not all like you, because that's unfair for me to say, but as in, like, behavior wise, with the way that we think, or the way that we fall, and what feels right at the time, because everything's a show out. You've got to remember that. You've got to be thinking you're playing to the crowd constantly, because if you walk away, some men have, You know, some men I've seen, big men, strong men, walk away and nobody says nothing because deep down in their hearts they know that that man there, he could have done real damage just for different reasons why he's not fighting you today. It doesn't mean because he didn't want to show out to the crowd, but in reality, the majority, they want examples set, you know, because everybody lives off their own fear, basically. And if somebody's coming in that looks a bit weaker, and especially with the age groups coming up now, you know, I've been in places where I can't believe some of the things they're putting other prisoners through. In the old days, you could never have ever put prisoners through the things you're putting them through now. It wouldn't have been allowed by the hierarchy and the elders, and you know, and the establishment even if you get what I mean, because no one likes a bully, no one likes a picker on her. You know, there's very few and far between, you know, at that stage there. Now everybody's the same, you know, like, come near me, I'll kill you, I'll stab you, I'll do it that way. But really, in reality, it's the only way out, that because they feel fear and scared that people are going to think they're not all that in that life, that fake life that I led. That's the truth of it. You know, that's the majority of the times, not all the times, of course, because it takes a bigger man to walk away, but in certain situations, you can't. And I feel so very sorry for the first timers, because if you go there and you don't know, or you're going by the word of mouth of somebody else and you haven't experienced it yourself, you're going to find out yourself, because every living experience is different from the person that's telling you, because that's the way that he saw it. That's the way that he handled it. That's the way that I handled it. Not everybody does it that same way and feels the same kind of thing. But many times along the years, I've seen and witnessed, you know, newcomers who get belittled, and then other people that heard the conversation, they kind of look at it and think, oh, look, he's a weak one. How much canteen is he getting? You know, oh, I wonder if I could tempt him into this. I wonder what he's about. Let me try and get him into debt, you know, and do that kind of thing and draw him in so that he looks easy. When I say, where's my money? You know, they know that you're quite scared and you're going to go, oh, I've got it here. It's all right. I can do it. All liberties, all liberties. But then we get back round to that question that I was talking about earlier. So why? So why then to feel that pain and to keep going through it constantly and repeating yourselves? In recovery, we call it insanity, because you know what to expect when you go there. So it's the familiarity of dealing with the pain. So you get so accustomed to doing it that you just accept it as norm, when in reality, there's so many ways to change that feeling. And this is what I was going to say to you, Paul, you know, in them early stages of recovery. I noticed, I've been through it before in jail when I've got clean. You feel on top of the world and those big bursts of energies come. And you're thinking, yeah, the game's won. Well, I know what I do. I want to do all this and love everybody. And because all your feelings is heightened because it's been closed down for so long, Paul. But me, all I could do is tell you about my early days of recovery outside for the first time. Remember, I'm far from perfect, Paul. But I'm better than I was a couple of months ago. You know, it's gone by now. But you've got to just find you've got to come out socially. You've got to embrace the new change, the new you. You've got to go, you know, you've got to go and meet, go places and people, because I notice a lot of the time with me, Paul, risk of people and places. Because I found since I've been out, if you leave me all alone, I don't often feel like doing anything, which is really childish, I know, for a 50-year-old man. And you realise that you're not that kind of addict in one way, but it's always lurking there in the background, Paul. Don't ever get it twisted. You know more than me. You've got more clean time under your belt than me, boy. But I would suggest, just people and places, just choose people that don't take drugs, simple things like places where it's not going to remind you of certain things, and go for the enjoyment period, because we deserve that in later life. You know, after being on things for so long, you deserve to let loose in a nicer way, where you're feeling the emotion and getting used to that feeling of being clean. It's no good, like, I know what you say, you can never bark at clean time, but it's no good being clean for a few months and thinking, going through that feeling, then you go back down because you have one bad day and that kind of stuff. And that used to happen to me a lot, because this is, you get to the crunch bit, like I've been getting to lately, where it's not all hey, and today's great and I love you and you, I'm clean, wow, because you've got to go through that, and gone through it many times in prison, that feeling of strong, back to normal, they're not looking down on me no more, you know, all that kind of stuff, Paul. But out here, surround yourself with the meetings. I'm just waiting for my nephew to come now, one of them, and he's been clean for over a decade, and he goes to his meetings regular. So I'm just sorting all that out now as well with the literature to help me while I can with all the moving around and everything. That's why, I haven't been able to settle, which you know of already. But Paul, you got to keep the basics simple. Now that with that clean time, you think about the dark days. Now you're thinking about the light days and what it feels like and how different it feels from being down in the temple of doom and I'm worthless, I'm useless, like what you think about yourself. Now you feel a little bit better to show yourself in public, to go around and socialise, and you feel good about yourself because whatever it leaves you feeling, I'm not saying that anyone, because in reality, a lot of the times in life people look down on drug takers that look a mess and, that you're not your true self, and they take advantage of that and the vulnerability, etc. Paul, that comes, but now's your time to shine and be like others and thing. But then, the reality sets in that it's just normal day-to-day life. And then the longer that you're going to be clean, the more that you're going to say, well, yeah, I've got used to this now. So it's every day. You can't feel like on top of the world every day just because you've gone a couple of weeks clean, a few weeks clean, a few months clean. Do you see what I mean, Paul? But because I'm not as skilled as the big members that have been clean for all that time, which I'm going to find out very soon in the next few minutes. I know that they've got enough clean time under their belt. Those are the ones to look up to. Those are the ones because they've got the clean time under their belt. They know the reality. They know the feeling. They know the initial feelings about being a newcomer and that kind of stuff, and how you're going to feel in that early energetic period where you're off stuff that you're beating it. Yes, I'm out of the darkness. Remember that, Paul. That's what it's about. But you still deserve to live your life, son. And you've got to go through what you've got to go through. And you've been through what you had to go through. Now that you're clean and you're sitting in the way that's different to how I look at it now, by the way you've asked me the question, Paul. But at the same time, this is your time. This is your time to understand more, because when we're down, we miss the point. You can't socialise, you can't laugh, you can't hug too much. You cry, you push everybody away, you're feeling bad about yourself because you're thinking in naughty ways kind of thing. But you're not thinking like that when you're clean. It's a big difference, and it's something to give yourself a pat on the back for. I'm happy for every day that I'm better than I was before. Trust me, Paul, because it could get really, really, really deep. Bloody, I'm talking for ages here. But no, drifting on from that. Mikey as well, that's a good one as well. What would I have been if I wouldn't have been a criminal? I know many have said it to me over the years, and I just wish. I know it's no good going on about whys and don'ts and ifs and buts and maybes, but no, in reality, I've got many, many rough ideas on what I should have been, and I will be that in later life for my peace of mind and my serenity and my answers to the Father in heaven. That's the best way of answering that, Mike, but that's all to come, boy. But yep, the why, once again, to getting back to why, why does it take so long? Why does it, for us to work out why, don't keep repeating yourself all over again to feel the same things. You do something about it. You learn a new way of living because it's out there. It's because I know with my case, it's all I ever knew, which is so, so sad. Just to think that at that time you're thinking that you can't. That's the majority of the thing. You think you can't, you're not good enough to do anything better. You see what I mean? That plays you in the mind. But how will I adapt to that? How? Because the fear of the unknown is always very, very difficult. Do you see what I mean? But in reality, it's there. The longer you're out, what I know now, I wish I would have known then. You lot have got a chance if you listen to me. Some of you, trust me, you don't need to go there. You don't need to lead that way of life, because at the end of the day, it brings nothing but pain and misery to everybody concerned, and you yourself included. There's no winners and losers in that. It's a lifetime thing. I know it's taken so long, but the solution in the end is give things a chance. Stay out. Don't commit crimes, suffer for a little bit, go through what many others have gone through along the years that have come through the other end, and that there always is a way at the end. And when you get used to doing it good, what happens is you get used to feeling good and doing it good, because you're around and your self-worth and all that, that increases the more less damage you've done to yourself and the more harm that you do to others. That's the only best way that I could describe it. So the only thing was, with a lot of us are habitual criminals again. So basically, in a nutshell, the familiarity of the pain of feeling that your self-worth is no good. In the meantime, you're harming others that don't deserve it from you, and you're not thinking about their feelings as well. So it's not all about just us at the end of the day. You know, that you come to the conclusion in the end that there's many of us, millions of us out there that are going through much worse than the other man. And that's the best way that I can answer it, of why it took me so long to realise a little time out, a little bit more patience, a little bit more empathy, a little bit more sympathy, a little bit more giving back and wanting to make amends for the wrongs, because you have to feel wrong about the stuff you've done. That's one of the main factors as well. So don't ever get that bit twisted. If you can't accept what you're doing or done is wrong, then you stand no chance. You've got to be over that bit first, all right? So that's it. Yammy's babbling on talk today, and they're all coming now. I know my first meeting is not too far away. Sending loads of love.